One of my favourite books last year was this 2021 edition of Kafka on the Shore from the Folio Society. And so I was quite excited when I learned that they would be publishing another Murakami book in the same series, this time Norwegian Wood, and that's the book I'll be looking at here. So much like Kafka on the Shore, we get a slipcase that is covered in paper, but then blocked with this metallic foil design that gives it a real punch when it catches the light. And the slipcase has a cutout here which allows part of the design from the book's front board to show through as well. The other sides of the slipcase are simply covered in that plain paper. And then if we remove the book from its case, we get, again, like Kafka on the Shore, a front board, a binding that is covered in this fairly fine red cloth, and that is blocked with another metallic illustration, this time of a woodland scene. And again, it's in this orange colour, but it has here in the background this black or dark green element of the design, and that's the part that pokes through the cutout in the slipcase. If we flip the book over, on the rear board we have another illustration, this time a smaller vignette illustration, and again it's in this metallic orange and black design. And the spine is very similar in layout to the one that we had again on Kafka on the Shore, because these books were published in series. So first of all, here we have this small vignette style illustration with the author's name, Haruki Murakami. There's the title Norwegian Wood and the Folio Society colophon. Finishing off the exterior design, of course, we have a sewn binding like all Folio Society books. All three of the page edges are trimmed and they're all just left in their plain white paper colour, and the binding has these orange head and tail bands. So then we open the book out, and the first thing that greets us is this pair of custom printed orange end papers with this black design, again of a woodland scene by the illustrator of the book, Daniel Levano. Beyond that we have the half title, and then we reach the title spread, which gives us here on the verso page a first look at Levano's illustrations. So Levano also illustrated Kafka on the Shore, and if we take that book out, we can see that both books share in common this sort of somewhat abstract and slightly surreal design of the illustrations. So there is the frontispiece for comparison from Kafka on the Shore. Each book's illustrations draw from a colour palette that matches the overall design of the book. So Kafka on the Shore was bound in blue and red and has those as the dominant colours in its illustrations. Norwegian Wood, the dominant colours are green and red, and so we see those throughout as well. And I'll say more about the illustrations later, but let me just remark right now that I think Daniel Levano's done a great job again, perhaps even better on this edition than Kafka on the Shore. And then we have a fairly neat looking title page. The text here is set in Futura, just like all of the display text in the book. And I really enjoy this font. I think it's got a nice modern edge to it. And I think it gives the title page a nice clean look. On the copyright page, as usual, we have production details for the book. So in particular, we see that this was typeset, as I said, in Futura for the display, and then Arno for the main body of the text. And as with most modern Folio Society standard editions, it's printed on Abbey wove paper, which is an acid-free paper, smooth but matte. Definitely better than the stuff you get in a trade edition. Perhaps nothing to get too excited about from the point of view of a fine book collector. And then we get our first look really at the typographic plan for the book. One nice thing about the book is that it has this two-colour printing, so we have this green initial drop cap, and then the text set, as I said, in Arno, with fairly generous margins and also fairly generous leading, which is the spacing between the lines here, which makes it an eminently readable presentation of the text. Otherwise, nothing too remarkable about the typographic plan. Here's another chapter, so the same style with the green printed drop cap and the simple numeral for the chapter number. And then if we skip forward a little bit, we come to the first of our illustrations. And whereas Kafka on the Shore included both one-page and two-page illustrations, all of the illustrations here in Norwegian Wood, apart from this frontispiece that we've seen already, take the form of two-page spreads. And so they come as a set of 4 pages, starting here with the recto page, which is on the reverse of the two-page spread. And this has a small vignette illustration. And then we open up to the two-page spread itself, where we see the main illustration. And just like the illustrations in Kafka on the Shore, most of the images take the form of this collage or montage. We see these different elements which pick out little bits of the plot and give them a slightly abstract but definitely recognizable representation. One thing that I think made Lovano's job a bit easier with this title is that whereas Kafka on the Shore is an example of Murakami's famous magical realism writing, Norwegian Wood is a much more grounded book, and I think that makes it a lot easier for Lovano to pick out those elements of the plot and give them a very recognizable visual instantiation. So we get the two-page spread, we see the green and red color scheme repeated again, and then here on the verso side of that second page is another one of the small vignette illustrations. And that's a pattern that's repeated throughout the book. So we come here to the next illustration spread. Again, we have the small vignette on this recto page, and then we open up to the collage on the main two-page spread. And then, as expected, on the verso page, again, we have another vignette illustration. In terms of the novel itself, as I already said, it's a very different style of book to Kafka on the Shore. So Kafka on the Shore is a piece of magical realism. Norwegian Wood is a much more grounded story. It is a wistful coming-of-age tale about a young adolescent in Japan, a young adult, who has gone away to university for the first time and is learning about life, is trying to find love, trying to make human connections. It's not a story that is driven by a high-tempo, action-packed plot. Instead, it's one where Murakami really demonstrates his mastery of the art of creating believable, likable characters and then embedding them in a world that is equally captivating, very believable, has a real verite about it. And so he really sucks you into the world of these characters, and that helps you to build, I think, a little bit of an emotional connection to them and makes the novel, I think, quite a powerful one. We finish up with the remainder of these illustrations, all following that same template with the two-page spread. And then we have, again, printed end papers. Note the subtle difference to the end papers at the beginning of the book. So our figures who are walking in the woods have now vanished. It's quite a nice design touch. It would have been very easy just to print the same image twice. And there's our vignette illustration on the backboard. So that is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami from the Folio Society 2022. It's printed in series with Kafka on the Shore, Folio Society 2021. Both of these books are within the upper end of Folio Society's standard pricing. I think they're about £80 or £90 off the top of my head. But I think they're worth the money. There are a lot of nice design elements here. So we have the die-cut slipcase with the metallic blocking. We have metallic blocking on the cover. We have a design on the rear board, printed end papers, lots of grade illustrations, two-color printing. So lots of things that make the books feel worth that slightly premium price point. These two books are among the first Murakami titles that I've read, but I enjoyed them both very much. So I've become a bit of a Murakami fanboy, I guess. And so for me, there's nothing not to like here, and I would heartily recommend both of these editions.